Okay, we are live streaming. And we'll give it just another minute to see if anybody else is joining us. Before we get started. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to the public hearing for ATV sound and safety equipment standard rulemaking. My name is Katie Gauthier. I'm with the Government Relations Unit for Oregon State Parks, and with me, Ian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Ian Caldwell with Oregon State Parks. I've worked with the ATV grant program for about 22 years.
So this evening, we are going to do a brief introduction and background of the ATV program and how we got to this point in the rulemaking. Ian will provide some of the background over the program, where how we ended up with this legislation, and the rulemaking process so far, and a little bit about the background of the rules. Then we will take any questions that anyone has. You can type those into the Q&A feature at the, for mine, it's at the bottom of the screen. It may be on the top of the screen for yours, but there's a Q&A feature and you can type your question in there. And after Ian does a short presentation, we will answer any questions, and then we'll open it up to the formal public hearing, where you'll have 3 minutes to provide any formal public comment, and then we'll wrap up for the evening. So thank you for joining us this evening. And Ian, do you want to get started and provide some background?
Yes, thanks, Katie. So we're going to be covering proposed rule changes for ATV sound levels and safety equipment standards for all-terrain vehicles in Oregon. So a little bit of a background of how we got here is this current legislative session, there was a House Bill 2032, and that House bill was to change the rulemaking authority from DEQ and ODOT over to state parks. So DEQ had the rulemaking authority for sound levels for ATVs, and ODOT had the equipment standards authority for making rules for equipment standards. So that got passed and signed by the governor and took effect immediately. After that took effect, Oregon State Parks did a temporary measure to have temporary rules for 180 days. And what we did is we basically took the same rules that DEQ and ODOT had and just mirrored them, and we adopted them for the next 180 days. But those will expire, and so by then we have to come up with more finalized rules. So this process that we're working on now, we have kind of stuck with the original rules and then tried to make a couple minor changes in a couple locations. So most of the proposed rules have been around for the last 30 to 40 years. And so shouldn't be too much of a question, just maybe how some of the changes were. So, and we'll be focusing on the sound standards and then equipment standards. So a little history is in 1996, the Oregon legislature created the ATV grant program, and it basically created an ATV permit, a sticker that people would buy and put on their vehicle that costs $10. And then associated fuel taxes with those stickers would get transferred to transferred over into the ATV program and used on the ground to take care of riding areas. About the $10 stickers for good for 2 years, and currently we get about $100 of fuel taxes per sticker. So that was managed by ODOT since 1986. In year 2000, it transferred over from ODOT over to Oregon State Parks. So we took over the permits, selling the permit program, distributing the grant funds, and also a safety education program with a safety card. So state parks took that over, and but at that time, the sound levels and equipment standards stayed with DEQ and OPRD. And that changed in 2025 with the House Bill 2032. And the intent of the whole House bill was to address the sound issue because there were a number of issues being raised about the different levels of sound level and having a consistent one across the state. So what we did with the rules, there's kind of three different buckets of changes that we are looking at. One of them is the simplest, and it's just changing some of the definitions. It's more of a housekeeping logistical thing. ODOT used some terms like multi-wheeled vehicle, and we wanted to stick with our definitions with class 1, 2, 3, and 4 all-terrain vehicles, which are defined in state statute. And so we needed to change some of that language to include or exclude certain vehicles. So in some of those definitions, there are things like needing fire extinguishers for class 2 and 4 vehicles, side-by-sides and Jeeps. And we kind of had to rework some of that language. So the rules associated with fire extinguishers, roll cages, seat belts, there were some changes in the definitions, but the intent and the meaning and the who needs what piece of equipment all remain the same. So it's just lining up the old definitions with the new. The second element is the equipment standards. And so we took a look at brakes. And so on vehicles, we had a lot of discussion about deleting the term disc or drum brakes, and we ended up just removing any changes. So we're sticking with the original language for brakes. We had some discussion on flags. So we've noticed several other states have different settings for flags. Other states are a 6-inch tall flag by 12-inch, and Oregon's rule was 8 inches tall. And so we want to be consistent with the other states. So in the new rule says flags need to be 6 inches tall by 12 inches wide and 8 feet off the ground. And we had some specifications to have 36 square inches in case somebody had like an American flag or a country flag, that flag would just have to be big enough to have that much red in it. We had a couple changes to headlights. One of the things is snowmobiles are required to have headlights in the snow. And we've talked to law enforcement who had some issues with sometimes ATVs would be using in the snow without their headlights on, and they're very difficult to see. So that requirement would have headlights for all vehicles operating in the snow. And then something that came up too was tethers for snowmobiles. We've been hearing about accidents with people falling off a snowmobile and the vehicle not stopping. And so the rule that we came up with was similar to the Marine Board program for like jet skis and personal watercraft. And so if the machine was originally designed with it and came with a tether, then you would need to have that. But if the vehicle did not come with a tether, you would not have to retrofit or anything. So it's just if the machine has a tether, you need to attach that to the person or their clothing. Then the final bucket of rules would be with the sound levels. And so currently we're looking at a sound level of 96 decibels. So the this chart on the right shows the different, this is basically what DEQ has currently or has had in the past. And that is a kind of a system where motorcycles and three-wheelers was 99 decibels. And then the mid and rear engine vehicles is 97. So that would be like a four-wheeler, a side-by-side, and sometimes sand rails would have a mid or rear engine, like a Volkswagen chassis would have that. So that'd be 97. And then front engine vehicles like trucks and SUVs would be 95 decibels. So there's been a lot of research done across the country. There's 10 other states that have adopted the 96 decibel level. California, Idaho, and Nevada, all neighboring states to Oregon, have that 96 decibel level. And there's a lot of industry and a lot of people in California. So there's a lot of mufflers and aftermarket pipes that can meet that 96 decibel level. So in the Oregon Dunes, there's some different levels. The Oregon Dunes recreation area is 93 decibels. Sand Lake is 97 decibels. Coos County has written an ordinance of 96 decibels. So trying to have kind of a blanket consistent thing with 96 across all different groups. So one of the other element of that I need to back up is the unreasonable noise. And so this is another aspect of it that we've added that would address sometimes officers cannot always do sound meter testing if they don't have equipment, if there's really bad weather, high winds, and sometimes there's officer safety issues with doing the testing or they don't have enough people. So if the situation warrants it and the vehicle is loud enough, they could write for unreasonable noise without needing to do a test. And then they would have to justify that in court with the judge of how that vehicle is unreasonable with their trained knowledge. So one of the things that I've seen and people have been asking about is who would enforce these rules. And this is not enforced by Oregon State Park Rangers. Would be enforced by county sheriffs. We have grant agreements with about 16 sheriffs across the state of Oregon. Then the dunes, where a lot of this stuff would be the biggest impact, we have grant agreements with Coos County, Douglas County, Lane County, and Tillamook County, which all have significant dunes riding areas. So they all employ deputies who would patrol those areas. And we also have an agreement with Oregon State Police, and we help fund some of their trooper time. So we do have law enforcement officers, and it's in their citation authority to enforce these rules. Our quick timeline here is we're working on this over this winter or summertime. We had a rural advisory committee meeting on July 16th. We have the month of August open for taking written public comments, which can be done online. And we are posting those on a weekly basis when those comments come in. Right now, we are holding a public hearing, and we'll be taking public comment at that time. The intent is to present this to our Oregon Parks Commission on September 17th, which they would potentially adopt the final rules. And then as soon as, I think there's a little bit of delay to get the filings done, and then once that happens, it would take effect probably in the month of September. A couple other elements I think is important is that Oregon State Parks, we run a website that has all the information about ATV laws. So we would update that website immediately. We do have an ATV rule and law handbook. And so we publish this booklet, and we give that all out to all our land managers. And so we'd update that with what the new laws are. And then Oregon State Parks also conducts a law enforcement workshop, and that will be in April of 2026. And we will be focusing on specialized training on doing sound enforcement. at that workshop and work with law enforcement of how to handle enforcement of these sound rules. And that is what I have. Katie, were we going to take any questions and answers in the Q&A?
Yes, so if there are any questions now, please type them into the Q&A chat feature at the bottom of the page, and then we will take those questions. Now is a great time to do questions before we move into the formal public comment portion. During the formal public comment portion, we're not able to take questions, so now is the time for questions. And while we're doing questions, I will share my screen for the public hearing portion. So if there are any questions, please let us know. I don't see any questions. So the hearing is an opportunity to provide public comment. There aren't no decisions that are made during the hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to provide a comment. The commenters will be called as anybody who raises their hand. And then as you've seen, the meeting is being recorded and will be posted on our website. And if you don't wish to comment, you're welcome to log off at any point. If you don't wish to comment verbally, we do take comments online on our rulemaking website or in writing or via email. You can email comments to oprd.publiccomment@oprd.oregon.gov, and we'll accept comments until August 31st at 5 p.m. So before we start our formal public comment, I need to read a script to kick off the public hearing portion. So this hearing is now in session. It is recorded to maintain the permanent record. My name is Katie Gauthier, and I'm the hearings officer. Today is Tuesday, August 19th. The time is 5:17 p.m. The purpose of the hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment on the proposed rule changes to Oregon Administrative Rules 736, 004, 015, 004, 0150, and 004, 0160 by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department regarding ATV sound and safety equipment. The agency invites comments about whether other options should be considered for achieving the rule's goals while reducing the negative impact on business. In addition to presenting oral comments at this hearing, anyone may submit written comments until 5 p.m. on August 31st, 2025, which is the close of the public comment period. Comments received after the close of the public comment period will not be reviewed or considered by the agency unless the agency decides to extend the public comment period for everyone. Send comments to the public comment box or the State Parks office. Those addresses are posted on the PowerPoint slide on the screen. OPRD will not respond to questions during the hearing. After the close of the public comment period, staff will prepare a report to the agency, which will be available from the agency upon request and will be presented to the Parks Commission as they consider adoption of these rules. If you have questions as part of your testimony, I would appreciate if you state those as concerns for the record. We may ask for clarifying questions as you present your testimony. To respect each speaker, anyone not presenting has been muted, and I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Again, you may submit written comments up until the close of the public comment period. And when it is your turn, you will be enabled to speak and the timer will appear on the screen. Please raise your hand now if you would like to make a public comment. If there's anyone that would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. Okay, well, it looks like we don't have anyone that wants to make an oral public comment, but we are still taking comments in writing uh, via email or regular mail or online. So please continue to submit public comments. We thank you for taking your time this evening to join us. And thank you, Ian, for providing the background, and hope that everyone has a great evening. This public hearing is officially closed. Thank you.